Welcome back. Of course, this is the Daybreak Africa, and today we'll be looking at a very important and something that is pressing in Nigeria economy, which is the economic challenges facing new administration, strategies to be adopted. And to do justice to this wonderful topic before us is my own favorite economist in the house, FELIX ECONOMIST. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, good
Thank
morning.
you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, house, and good morning, viewers.
I must say it's been a while. I am on the program with you.
Very true. Okay, it is no surprise to us or news concerning the challenges that we face in Nigeria economy. We talk about the high rate of debt we have, and then we also have issues of so many things in all. So where do we start from at this point, knowing the new administrations are trying to do one thing or the other? Where do we start from?
Well, let me first of all comment that the problem we are having in Nigeria as of today, a lot of countries are facing the challenges. Though as what actually aggravates it is inconsistency in handling policies or transfer of policy implementation from one government to the other. First of all, the handling of the currency affected us. Then new administration coming in, pronouncement of the policy and the plans they have affected us too. Then withdrawal of the subsidy, which of course it has been in the pipeline, but a sudden total outburst of it affected us too. And again, in order to actually sanitize what is seen is a challenge within the financial sector, trying to balance the price of foreign currency, especially dollar, removing the gap between the black market and the official rate, now collapsing it to the black market rate, which is assumed to be the free market rate. So eventually that resulted to a depreciation and devaluation of our currency. We depend heavily on importation, so when our currency is devalued, that means our capacity to get more outside is affected. That results to increase in prices of the domestic output we have. Then also considering that though we have a lot of migration leaving the country, but the growth in population has been steady up, but the total output has not been commensurate to that. Most of the growth potentials we have and the growth in the economy is only a kind of growth without impacting much on welfare of the people, because we are beclouded heavily with service activities instead of direct production activities. That is also affecting us. A lot of challenges, and for a new administration, most new administration always face challenges as they start, because they are unable to shake hands directly and pull along with the policy of the previous administration to a new administration. So the gap that is created, the policy gap, the problem identification gap, and the implementation gap, all of them collapse together, bring much pressure to the economy, which we're experiencing now.
Okay, you've done a very good analysis on the problem that we have on ground and what we really need to face. But now, the new administration promised a lot of things, especially talking about the reform of the economy, which is a welcome development to the ears of everybody. Feel like, okay, the economy is going to be reformed and everything will go smoothly. But fast forward to what is happening right now, we can't really say. Most people, in fact, if you ask most Nigerians, they will tell you they are not really seeing anything being reformed because they are seeing more of the negative. Now, if we want to analyze it on the short run and the long run, if you want to give an analysis of what is going to happen, looking at the subsidy removal, the first subsidy removal, and everything that is going on, the fall in Naira that is against the dollar and everything, what is going to be an expecting end for a Nigerian right now?
For a new administration, immediately they come up with policies. First of all, they assume that their policy will work and bring positive outcome in a short time. Then the administration for now, the policies they come up with actually created pressure for us, but over time they believe is going to add value. Then the question is, how is it going to add value? Then what are those policies actually that they are looking at? First, if you talk of the currency devaluation, if it in any way we try to encourage the productive capacity, we will try to encourage the small scale industries, the micro and the mini, that one would have been better, so that we start producing and start consuming what we produce. But with the attendant economic problems, immediate past economic problems that we experience, the small scale industries, a lot of them have closed down. The medium scale, a lot of them are struggling to survive. Then what is selling now? The works of the middlemen. When there is scarcity, the middlemen enjoy. So the work of the middlemen, it is the middlemen that actually enjoy. Those producing are suffering, those consuming are suffering. The gap in between the middlemen, taking it from the little they produce down to the table of those ones that are going to consume, the middlemen. Then these middlemen, most of the activities is just purely service, which include banking activities, transaction, moving currency from one person to the other, moving phone. Then talk of insurance. Then you talk of problems that it will create, resulting to health problems, heavy health challenges. Then you talk of other service-related activities. The pressure in the economy, people are talking less of capital expenditure now. They are concentrating on how to feed the people. The federal government, the Tinubu administration is talking of palliative of about 8,000 naira for the indigent. But who are the indigents? Then who are those ones? Something like that happened during Buhari administration. Who are the beneficiaries? Who did this, the funds they distribute? There was one program I attended there. I tried to explain that it is risky to do free transfer of funds without challenging it to those ones that will use it for productive activities, because it will heat up the system, push up prices, and the people you give it to, such fund will not be beneficial to them, because once prices are pushed up, the actual value that they are going to benefit from it will be eroded by the price increase. So who are these ones that are going to benefit? How do they identify them? The major problem we have in Nigeria is problem of data. So how did they get the data? I also checked through newspapers and interactions from the House of Assembly, the lower and the upper house. A lot of money being appropriated to help the incoming, that is the new members of the house. Who is supposed to have palliative first? Is it the members of the house or the so-called indigent? These so-called indigent, when are they going to start having the so-called? Then again, removing subsidy totally. I also remember that there was a program we discussed about subsidy. I was saying that once there is a sudden removal, it's going to cause a major crisis. So the major crisis is here. Ordinarily, they are supposed to have plans marshaled out to give relief to people before this subsidy is removed. Then the fund generated over time, very soon we'll cover the first month, because that of subsidy elapsed June. In July, the amount we are supposed to use for subsidy is supposed to come back to our coffers. Then what is the plan? How is it going to help the system? The major area that they are supposed to look at is the transport. It's a major problem we have. Petroleum affects transport directly, and that actually causes upshoot in prices of transportation. If you go to the market, the price of goods, staple food in the market that jump up is because of change in prices of cost of transportation. Then again, within this period too, we also had natural issues, natural disasters that affect agriculture, agricultural products. Our output dwindled a little because of natural occurrence, the rain, then flood, a lot of things, coupled with pockets of crisis this actually reduced or affected our output. Though government had plans talking about production and processing of cereals like rice, but that has not impacted at all. So what is the plan of government in trying to help? Recently, this week, President Tinubu declared state of emergency on food insecurity. This is what we've been discussing every time. If you declare state of emergency, what is the plan? What do you dish out to people so that they will use in handling this, or knowing that it's an emergency, what they should do? So before you declare state of emergency, you have said this is what we want to do. Government, when you declare state of emergency, that means it is out of the hand of the people. Government is going to take over. What is the plan? What are they? It's not just announcing, but what is the plan? So with all these things, if eventually that we are unable to produce, we are unable to feed ourselves, we will still go out. The money we get from fuel subsidy may not help us much, especially, I want to go back to it again, especially if we can't revamp our iron and steel industries. If we can't revamp it, it's going to give us major problem. How do we go into construction? How do we go into manufacturing? How do we go into fabrication? Because bringing those ones from outside is a major problem. Then the cost of foreign currency now is so high that before you bring in any good at all into the economy, the value of that good is totally eroded. Who is going to buy it? Then again, at this period, the misery index, what we call misery index, has risen to up to 56, 57. Misery index is a combination of generally unemployment rate and the inflation rate. These are the ones that erode the earning of the people. If you are earning like 50,000 naira, that means 56 to 58% of it is off, because you are going to use it to support people that are not employed, and inflation is going to take a part of it, meaning that remaining one, about 40 something, will be the value we have in your hand. But this value indirectly will also be eroded by other policy issues. So in future, between now and in the next 2-3 months, if there is no very, very good pronouncement from the government and proper handling of the palliative, there may be a major crisis. Because one, it's affecting all sectors of the economy. Education sector is affected now. That is where our children are. Federal schools, all of them are looking for how to raise money. Some of them indirectly are increasing fees. It may not be tuition fee, but other fees around. So very soon, no school will be taking from students anything less than 100,000. Eventually, this one will still go back to parents to pay. Then you want to expand tax dragnets. You want to get more income from taxes, which is expected, which is good, because a lot of people are not paying. But because of documentation and data problem, the ones paying before will still be the one that will be suffering more on it. Eventually, those ones that will bring in the fund to pay tax are still parents. Then you talk of what government is supposed to take care of: security. Individuals are now providing their securities. You talk of road maintenance. Communities are organizing community effort to construct roads. Energy, which is a major thing for our country. The energy sector, we talk of the petroleum sector and the electricity sector. Petroleum sector has been deregulated. Electricity sector, I think, is a very good thing that our president has just done by making it very free, allowing states and individuals to generate and distribute on their own. I think it's a very, very good one. I know he rushed into it because that affected him when he was governor of Lagos State too. So he knew how it pains for you to make attempts to help your people and you can't help them because of federal government policy. So going into that, I think is a very good one. If we can lash into it properly, it will help us in developing the base for small and medium scale enterprises to strive. In the next 2 months, if palliative activities is not handled properly, if there is no pronouncement from government to at least to help the people to calm them down, there may be issues. There may be issues because though labor has been totally calmed a little, they are waiting, they are watching out to see what will happen. The palliative, how is it going to be like? Labor may come up again. Then some factories that are shutting down, that means they are returning people to the labor market. When you return them to the labor market, they must eat. And for young men and women to eat, if there is nothing to do, they go into crime. So cost of handling crime will also increase. It's a problem, but I think later we may have some relief if it's properly handled.
Let's hope so. Let's really hope so. Now, you've really done a lot of analysis, and I must say it has been a very good justice. But now, if we look back, the past administration, despite that we had a lot of ups and downs economically, we could see that the small and medium scale enterprises contributed a lot to the economy of the nation. But right now, if we are in a state that even the small, medium-scale enterprises cannot stand on their feet to be able to put in, a lot of things, as you said, will be affected, especially even driving people back to the labor market. Now, we have a lot of promises from the new administration, and on the foot they've started, as an economist, do you think they can be able to channel their energy into other sectors, which is not the petroleum? They have been focusing all their energy on, because if you look at it, the oil sector has been the one really generating the fund into the economy. Now, we need to look at other places. But on the paper and what they've started so far, do you think there is a foreseeable thing that can come from them that will be able to generate this same energy into other sectors?
Of course, it depends on the appointments that the president is doing now, and the focus or the vision that the government have, which is going to communicate to them. Every sector of the economy needs to be revamped. The idea of looking at only petroleum sector, though if you even check it, petroleum sector contribution to GDP comparatively has reduced. You know, percentage contribution of petroleum sector to GDP compared to what it was in the past is lower now. Then that of industrial sector has picked up a little until this major problem that we are having now. What will kind of help us a lot is channeling people's, refocusing people's attention away from a lot of service activities to productive activities. When I say productive activities, we are talking of production of physical assets and consumables that people depend on. Generally, the need of man is food, shelter, and clothing. The major one is food. Where this food, shelter, and clothing come from becomes a major area that people should focus on. So where food comes from, talk of agriculture. Agriculture employ a lot. Because they have to employ a lot, you have to pay special attention there so that it will reduce unemployment. Then those ones already in agriculture, how to support them so that their productivity will improve is another one. We talk of where do we have arable land in Nigeria. Our arable land, gradually we feel we are developing, cutting down our trees, removing our forests, removing farmland, and putting concrete there to say we are building. The rich ones will just get a vast land, fence it around, build a small house and put concrete around. People within the environment, all of them are looking for food to eat. But such areas should be converted to farm and farming activities. So if people are encouraged to go into farming, it will help us. If we also encourage to go into production, but how do you encourage people to go into production? What do they need? The input. You talk of energy, that is light. Light must be there. Whatever they produce, they must have good road to transport them. Again, they must also have source or supply of their input. To help them for the source of supply of their input, most of the inputs, they are coming from outside. How do you help small and medium scale enterprises? Even if the price of dollar is now up to 700, for people that want to go into production, how do you help them? If you remove subsidy from one side, you can subsidize another one that you feel that will revamp the system. If you feel that petroleum sector, which a lot of people were benefiting from, although some very few rich, they hijack the benefit. If you remove it from there, you look at other sectors that will generate what will improve the system, not just transferring such. So every sector of the economy is to be looked into. But a major sector to be looked into is the education sector. Because if you want to reform a people, you go back to education to reform them. If you want to kill a system, you go back to education to remove certain things from the curriculum to destroy the system. So Nigeria we need a reformation. From statistics carried out recently, we noticed that very many of our youths, as they are graduating, they are thinking of service. Most of them are not even thinking of productive activities. They believe that there is somewhere on the internet they can harvest funds. So very many of them, they want to go into internet. They boldly say that they are into internet activities or something like that, so Yahoo, and all those things. This set of people, they are very intelligent. I mean, our youth. When their mind is refocused, then they will do better. They will do better. So every sector should start thinking of how they can create jobs. They should start thinking of how they can become productive. If you go to different ministries discuss about allocations. They will be talking of increasing allocation to them. But a lot of them are not discussing about generating funds for the government. So you're only talking of where to consume. You're not talking of generating. How do you improve the system? So ministries, the ministers and the key officers there should be re-educated. We have to educate and educate them that having a ministry is not just a cost center. It's supposed to be a revenue generating center. So you should not be looking at bring tax, let us share. Go to customs, let them bring money, let us share. Petroleum, bring it, let us share. Instead, you are supposed to be talking of what are we generating to help the system. So once we have that mindset, it will help the system will actually grow. Looking forward, every sector, if they are actually handled properly, and if the government come up with policies to guide, eventually the system can become better, the economy can become better. So summarily, what makes a system good is the policy. What also makes the system good is checking productivity, finding out whether sectors are productive, ministries are productive. The ones that are not productive, you collapse it. The ones that are productive, you encourage them. Then every research center, every school should be encouraged to talk of solutions to economic problems. I'm in the education sector. We carry out a lot of research, but the research end up inside libraries and inside the files. None of them is used. In sane environments, in very, very sane countries, if they have economic challenge, they will go to the universities, they will go to research centers, they will sit them down, give them the assignment and provide funding, ask them to provide solution. And when they meet, do their research, whatever findings they come up with, they bring it back to the government, they look at it and implement. Over time, changes will start coming. But where you have researches that are carried out and nothing is done about it, it becomes a problem. Let's now go back to policies too. Policies of the government, over time, we are supposed to have short-term economic plans, long-term economic plans and medium-term economic plans. The long-term economic plans that are supposed to dovetail and link to this period, what are the plans? Every individual in Nigeria should know the plan of the country. Every ministry and parastatal should know what the economic plan is all about. At the time, we are hearing of Vision 2020, Vision 2020. 2020 is past. If we ask now, what was Vision 2020? Even myself, I don't know. You know. Now you talk of Vision 20, you talk of 2025, you talk of 2030. A country like China is already talking of 2050 and 3,000 just ahead, to the extent that they've moved every year. They target training 1 million of their youth on artificial intelligence, on IT related. They send them to other countries to learn, because that is the future of the world. Then Nigeria, how many are we training? Our schools, how are we handling them? How are we training? If we cannot send them abroad to train, then how are we handling locally? Like, it's just like a joke. Somebody actually mentioned that the way they handle education, that strike is an annual event, that they are waiting for when they will call for the next festival, because strike is coming again. When you hear things like that, you know that there is a gap somewhere. There is a gap. If you feel that every year lecturers must strike, they must ask for one thing or the other, there must be a fight before they look at what they're asking for, it becomes a problem. Those ones that make education a priority, that means they are making the life of their children a priority, educating them. So is a lot of things to look at, different sectors. No sector is supposed to be unproductive. Every sector is supposed to be productive. So policies is the one that drive productivity.
Also far, it's good you have given certain solutions to major problems that is faced in our Nigerian economy. However, what from your wide knowledge of economics, what do you think the government should focus on currently before stepping to other sectors? Shortly before we go.
Okay, I think as at now, what government should actually focus on is how to help to reduce the pressure people are now. Then how do you reduce it? They look at where people are feeling pained. First of all, generally, Nigeria, very many people are employed by the government. That means their income is stable. It's not changing. It's only that of few, some ministries and the politicians that their own is changing. So where income remains same and prices are going up, that means standard of living is falling continuously. So how do you help in standard of living? Assuming it's in some economies where they have very good silo system, where they produce a lot and they keep out food. Some countries do it when they are faced with such situation, they bring out food from their silo, then they assign it to supermarkets and they sell at cheaper rates to people. So that is a kind of subsidizing their consumption. But where things like that is not coming up, they made mention of giving the student loan. Instead of giving direct student loan, you should talk of every student in the school. How much can you help them? Like bursary, they can give federal government bursary. Federal government bursary will be a better one than say you want to give a loan. If you give federal government bursary, it goes straight to the students. It will help them. And if they know that they are going to receive bursary, whatever payment they are going to make, they know that one will help. But if you talk of with that one directly we give to the youth and to a lot of people. Then you also talk of the indigent. How do you measure? How do you know the indigent? The best way to handle such, we have 774 local government areas. Government should be looking at the grassroots. If you check at the local government areas, if there is anything to be done, it's not to be organized from the center. It's to be supervised from the center, organized at the local levels. If you assign a local government area here to check out in the community, they will be able to know few of the persons that are going to give. Then they should also note that in Nigeria, the elderly are not taken care of. most of the elderly, it is people working that are supporting them. And because you don't want your elderly to easily die like that, sometimes we abandon the youth, the children we are supposed to train, then we handle the elderly. Then in that case, you should be talking of handling and taking care of the elderly. Indirectly, you are sending funds to people and to communities. Then if you talk of giving back to, you can go to, even if you want to check, go to people that are suffering in the different hospitals. You can say, okay, the health sector, there's going to be a support to the health sector. A little support to the health sector will get to every individual. Everybody cannot be sick at the same time. But when one person that is sick is helped, that means all of us have been helped. So if you talk of sending 80,000 naira to people, you may end up sending money to people and the fund will not add value to them. So those are areas that they should look at, and they should concentrate more checking out the policies on education so that they'll be able to train people who will take over the economy and revamp the system.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It has been wonderful so far.
Thank you for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure always.
All to our viewers, we keep our fingers crossed concerning the economy of Nigeria. However, we'll continue to hope for a better country and a better economy. And this is where we'll be signing out from our Ondo studios, as we'll be handing you over to our Lagos stations. I am Angela Daku.
I will say, have a wonderful day and enjoy everything that comes along with it. I remain Michael Obagiri.